Welcome to block 3. We're doing some different stuff this week, so we'll go through and explain all that. I thought you might like to see some examples of some of the colors that are coming up. This is block 3 that we're working on today. Here's an example of block 1, block 2s, some more block 2s, block 1s, and more block 2s. So as you can see, we're starting to get a real variety because of the color choices, which is really great. That's what makes your quilt your own. So, block 3 uses medium 1, medium 2, and dark 3. No lights in this block. So, you're going to cut 4-inch squares, and you're going to cut 4 of your medium 1, 4 of your medium 2. What you're going to do is you're going to put right sides together of your fabric on the medium 1s and the medium 2s and draw, cut, and you end up with a half square triangle. So you're going to press this open and you're going to take 2 of your half square triangles and you're going to place them back together, colors opposite.
Oh, that's how you make the quarter square.
Okay? You're going to take your 2 again, and you're going to draw lines again. So what you end up with, and I've sewn my 2 lines, the lines I drew on here, and you end up with a quarter square triangle.
Okay.
You'll get 2 out of each block. So depending upon the fabric that you're using and whether you've pre-sized it, I use best press, which I like because it gives it enough stiffness that it doesn't move around a lot on me. But since you're sewing over a lot of seams here, you might want to pin or clip. I really like to use the little binding clips in my sewing. They're just really easy. I can't sew over them, so I'm not going to break needles. You know, I get to that and it's like, no, we can't go there. So when I cut this apart, I am going to end up with 2 quarter square triangles. Not too bad. Again, when you're lining this up, you want to be sure that you get the points of your seams even. That's what's going to give you a really good meet in the middle. Okay? So, we're going to square these squares up to 3 inches. However, there's a little trick to that. You don't want to just put this on here and square it up to 3 inches. You're going to get a wonky block. Can everybody see how this is a little wonky, depending upon where you put it? So once again, we want on our template to come on this diagonal line, but we also want to find a center point on our quarter square block so that it ends up with all the triangles even. So what you do on your template is you find the 1.5 inch mark. On my template, it's on the little 3-inch one. It's right here. So this is a 1.5 inch square. So not only, this one's wonky. Not only am I going to place my diagonal line on the diagonal, but I'm also going to move it to where the point is, to where that's 1.5 inches. So I still have my diagonal covered, and I'm 1.5 inches right here in this center point. I trim 2 sides, turn it, find that 1.5 inch mark in my diagonal again and trim it. Now you're not going to get as much of a trim on this, but you will get a little bit of a trim on it. Very important, don't forget that 1.5 inch center mark. That's the trick to getting really nice, even quarter square triangles. Any question about that? Again, it doesn't have to be a 3-inch template. Anything bigger that has both the diagonal and on your template, it's marked off in inch and 1.5 pieces. Okay, yes?
Just because we had the 3.5 inch templates you guys were using, you're gonna have to realize that that's a 3.5 inch, so you're gonna have to really look for that 1.5 inch mark. Don't just center it in your 3.5 inch, yeah.
Thank you. So, what you're also gonna cut in this square is you are gonna cut 4 2.5 by 5.5 inch rectangles out of your M1. You're also gonna cut 4 3-inch square pieces out of your M1 again. So the directions are very clear on this one. You're also gonna cut 4 3-inch squares out of your D3. So the way this goes together is I am placing these 2 blocks here. I'm gonna take some triangles and I'm gonna sew them together. Now you wanna make sure when you're sewing these together that you get your triangles in the right place. This one's correct. If I did this here, it's not gonna work with my color scheme. It's gonna be here. So when I sew to my green pieces, my triangles are gonna go this way. When I sew to my dark piece, the triangles are gonna go this way. You take one of your 2.5 by 5.5 inch pieces and you sew it to a completed block. And you can see this is the second half of my top here. And if I had another triangle here, I would sew these pieces together. You're then going to take another piece of your 2.5 by 5.5 and sew it to, I didn't put that up, did I?
2.5 inch square.
2.5 inch square. So not only are you cutting 4 3-inch squares, you're also cutting a 2.5 inch dark. So you're going to sew these pieces together. You're going to repeat. So when you have the 2 halves sewn together, you could sew this to this to this, and you end up with this. So the only trick really to remember in this one is when you're trimming your quarter square triangles, you can't just square them up. You have to find that 1.5 inches and put it on the center of that block. Does that make sense? Any questions?
Paula, how come it looks like it's a narrower cross piece in this picture?
Thank you for bringing that up. So when you look at the picture down here, when I email your block 3 to you tomorrow, it looks like these are really narrow, like 1 inch. It's not. I measured it and it measures out right at 12.5 inches with this 2.5 inch wide piece. So what they had left off this pattern is all of the instructions on these pieces. That's why I wrote them in.
Okay.
They're in your cutting instructions, but they didn't tell you verbally in here what you were supposed to do with those pieces. So yeah, it looks quite a bit narrower than it actually in actuality is. So thank you for bringing that up. Don't let that confuse you. You know, don't look for the 1 inch pieces. Any other questions?
Yeah.
going back to, okay, I've got the half square triangles. Okay, then, okay, you showed it, but I'm still not getting the, what it is called, the quarter square triangles?
Okay, so Ginny's question was, is she gets the quarter square, the half square triangles,
Yeah, because we've done those.
we've done them.
Right.
So all you're doing is you're taking your half square triangle, you're placing colors opposite, like instead of green going to green here, my orange is going to my green.
Then we're gonna sew across the other diagonal, right?
And then I took my 1/4 inch seam marker, I don't know if this is real visible, but see those lines?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I sewed that down. And then I cut these two apart.
Okay, you just cut through the previous seam.
Yes. But it's locked down because you've sewn on the lines.
Right.
And then when you open it up,
You get two of those.
Two of those.
you get two of
Which
those.
you didn't cut,
I haven't cut it yet.
so that's why I'm going, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, there's two of them here.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the only trick is don't cut where you already just sewed.
Right, you're gonna cut directly down the middle here. So you'll end up with a 1/4 inch seam on each side of the lines.
Okay.
I can go over it again with you. Yeah, I can go over it.
Sometimes it's much more obvious as you do it.
Any other questions? Great. Welcome everybody to block 3, and I'll see you next week for block 4.
Well, boy.